Let's finally understand what karma really means. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what it is, how to deal with it, divine law versus human law, and a little bit on reincarnation. So understand that whenever you read something, anything, even sacred books, you cannot just use the literal meaning to understand it. So if we go by the literal meaning of karma, karma would mean cause and effect. Okay, that's what the etymology says. Cause and effect. But if we stop here, we cannot truly understand what's in there. So let's try to go a little bit deeper with the help of Kabbalah. So karma is composed of K and A, which is the same from Kabbalah. And in this context, it means ideas of men or our body. It's how the Egyptians used to describe our body, which is situated down here in Malkut, the last sphere. Then we have the R, which in one way can be understood as the judgment card. So this card right here from the tarot, the judgment card. Okay, so it's connected to the letter R. Or we can add a vowel to it and it becomes Ra. But remember, grammar is just strict rules. With Kabbalah, you can play around them. So let's change those two and let's have R. This sound in Portuguese means air. So air is our intellect, our thoughts, intellect. Okay? So our body, intellect. Ideas of men, intellect. And finally, we have Ma, which again, the M can be related to the death card. So I have it right here. The death card connected to the M. Or we can also see it again, making the change here of positions, which doesn't change the value. And it becomes which is a esoteric name for Earth or planet. Esoteric Earth. So I'm showing you how the name already contains the meaning of the thing. Karma is every idea that you have, every imagination that you fix yourself into that keeps you stuck into doing the same things, that keeps you stuck in this earth, in this wheel, in this body. I have here a pendant with a very interesting symbol that talks about this as well. The snake eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. You have a circle, okay? And you're stuck in the circle because you keep having the same imaginations, the same thoughts, which lead to the same emotions, same actions, so on, so on, so on, so on. So you're bound to a circle, or dare I say, a wheel, samsara. See how easy it is to understand now? So we have the wheel as well in the tarot, which is the 10th card. So we have it right here. But I have it in another deck, which is also very interesting to see how they portray it, because they are going to bring some elements from the Greek stories. So here we have the morae. So basically they would weave destiny. Okay? Again, karma is not so much about, oh, I did something, let's say, let me remove this. Let's say you go and do something specific, right? You go and you're here and you make something fall, right? There was a thing here and you make it fall. So what will happen is something else was standing and is going to fall as well, and so on, and so on. This will continue until it hits you back. Cause and effect, right? Well, who was the cause? It was yourself. So it's not so much a punishment, but more so you being stuck to the same thought patterns. So if you don't understand this, you can never break out of it, right? Now let's continue. This is karma. Very straightforward. Is a programming that you stuck yourself into. Could be anything, something terrible like, I don't know, you died in a certain way before and then you come to another life with characteristics of that specific death, or you did something to someone and then when you came, you thought that to rectify yourself, you needed something in your body to remember or to go through a certain experience and so on. Again, who are the judges? We're going to talk about this, but we are the own judges. So karma is this repetition, these programs that we keep creating on ourselves. Now, how to deal with it? First step is to understand it. Where am I repeating things? Where am I repeating thought patterns, repeating actions, repeating emotions, repeating imaginations? So if you cannot be aware of them, you can never change them. You gotta bring stuff to light to first be able to change them. Okay? Another way of dealing with them is talking to the law judges, let's say. So in Egypt, they would say that Anubis had 42 lawyers. Lawyers. Okay? And you can actually speak to those and try to, get yourself a better deal. Because again, when people think of spirituality, they probably imagine something crazy like the astral realm, something completely crazy and so on. But it's not necessarily like this. So the more you go up, the more you see it's actually very similar to what we have down here. It's just more technological, it's more, the consciousness is a little bit higher and so on. So they're actually pretty fair if you can talk your way around stuff. That's why when you learn Kabbalah, you eventually become some kind of cosmic lawyer of sorts. You're just dealing with problems, okay? And again, you can talk to one of these lawyers. There are many rituals for that, or just simply on your mind, you can deal with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are your own judge. If you do a certain action and you believe you need punishment for that, guess what? Punishment will come. But who said that that action that you did is punishable? Most of the times you are the one creating this inside your head, be it because of your paradigm, your religion, your parents, your culture, whatever it is. Okay? Now, how to do with it? Again, first of all, be aware. Second of all, try to rectify, try to make different actions. If you keep having the same problems, try different approaches. If you behave the same way, you're going to have the same outcomes. Now, let's quickly speak about divine law versus human law. So whenever you see this figure of a blind judge, and she has the sword on her hand, but it's pointing down like this, and the balance something like this. Scales, right? So this is human law. It's blind. It's pointing to the earth. If you want to speak about divine law, you need something like this, like the justice card. Let me show you. Something like this. See, she's not blind and she has the sword pointing up. Another example in another tarot deck, and you're going to see it again. This one's a little bit harder to see maybe. She has a sword, and she has the scales, and she's not blind. So there's a total difference between human law, which is corruptible, it's very easily corruptible, and divine law, which is not corruptible at all. You cannot corrupt divine law. It's the same idea, the same concept behind high magic and low magic, or folk magic. Folk magic. So high magic or ceremonial magic. Why it's high? Well, because you're literally working with planets, with the sky. Okay? And folk magic, you're working with Earth. And guess what? Everything that humans touch, they can corrupt. So please listen. Any book, any video, anything that humans can touch can be corruptible. Don't take things at face value. Remember what I said at the beginning. Read things between the lines. Read everything that is being said there, not only what you can see. And that goes to anything, news, to stories people tell you, anything, something you read online, anything, even what I'm saying, okay? Don't take anything at face value. But when you work with high magic or with the planets, well, we cannot change the configuration of the planets. It's not up to us. It's up to the cosmic beings. So those are more, let's say, they're harder for us to change them. We cannot change them. So they're less corruptible, okay? So when we are talking about divine law, we are talking about what's truly a problem, what's truly bad. Because also the concept of bad and good, it's very debatable when we are talking in human terms. What's maybe good for me could be bad for you and vice versa. Or what's good for me and you could be bad for another person, and so on. So that's why it's also hard to say things like black magic or white magic, like good magic, bad magic. Well, those are just energies. I can use a car to run to someone or to go to a place. I can use it to harm someone or to just, move around. So it's always up to the person. That's why, again, it's very important for you to try and break paradigms of what's exactly wrong or right, or what exactly you did that wasn't beneficial and so on. Obviously, make good judgment. If you do something and you don't feel well about doing it, there's highly a chance that that's not something you should be doing again. But, always try to understand what's really going on there so that you don't make a worse, let's say, judgment on yourself than you should. Okay? So that's the idea between divine law and human law. Now, last but not least, let's talk a little bit about reincarnation. So if you are always having to come to the same planet, okay, and dealing with the same problems over and over and over and over, what do you think that is? Do you think that's a chance to evolve, or you're being punished? Again, if you keep having to deal with the same problems, just means you didn't won against them. You're still having the same problems. You didn't figure out how to pass to the next level, how to level up. So when we are talking in terms of reincarnation, that you have to come and deal with something, maybe that's not super strong on other countries, I'm not so sure. But in Brazil, for example, this is a really strong belief because of a lot of syncretisms that existed there and so on. But anyways, people believe that they have to go through and, let's say, come in the same families over and over and over and deal with the same problems over and over and over. It's like, no, not necessarily. If you understand the problem and you fix it, go next, move on. There's many things, there's infinite things for you to experience. Why should you come and live the same video game again, just changing the character a little bit every time? Okay, so please understand this. There's also something interesting that I want to talk about, which is the concept of a balance sheet. So, again, for the divine or the cosmic beings, there are actions that grants us some kind of credit. Okay? And the more you do those, well, the higher your chances to stay in the game, playing, and having good conditions, let's say. So, what would be those actions? Well, obviously, first of all, bringing homeostasis to things. So not creating too much of anything. And second of all, helping out your peers, obviously. Because if everyone helps each other out, the game gets better to everyone. Okay? You have to remember, at the end of the day, you are your brothers and sisters. You are the animals that you're seeing. You are everything that you interact with. You come from the same source. You just didn't realize it yet. So when you're helping out someone, you're actually helping yourself. When you're teaching someone, you're teaching yourself. So on and so forth. So the more credits you have, the best of a game you can play. But some people abuse this. Some people, they go and they try to accelerate their karma. Accelerate their karma or their credits. So what happens is, let's say they had this whole life to live, like 80 years. And in 80 years, they would earn this amount of money, okay? When they accelerate karma, they get to live, I don't know, 8 more years. But all this money that they would get in 80, they get now. So a lot of people see this as a huge deal, right? Oh yeah, I get to have all this money and fame and everything. Well, there are some caveats, obviously. When you're dealing with things from the other side, remember that most of the times you don't have the same access that they do. You cannot read all the small letters in the contracts. So don't think you're the big guy or the big girl just because you're doing something like this, okay? I wouldn't advise you to do something, but just know that it happens. And probably someone would call this like selling your soul or something like this. And if you remember the idea of soul being that of which you can imagine, your imagination in itself, when you're selling your soul, what you're doing is, okay, I'm gonna have all the benefits, and in exchange, I just have to not do what my soul came to do. I disconnect from source and start doing the plan of someone else. I start talking about things that I'm not necessarily interested in, but which are gonna make some other people very happy. The people that are paying me, for example. Whoa. So, all of this being said, I guess you guys can have one word here to help understand the karma and how to deal with it, which is break the wheel. Okay? That's the idea. Break it. You're running in circles. Break this. Go up. You have to go on an upwards spiral, not a circle. Okay? That's the main idea for this video. If you have any content suggestions, let me know in the comments. If you want me to keep doing those, like, subscribe, send me a message, anything. Pretty happy that you stayed until the end, and see you next. Bye bye.